Hey, good Friday evening. Welcome back into Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. How's everybody doing this Friday night? I hope everybody is having a wonderful 4th of July weekend so far. Well, have a lot to go through here this evening. We had the full interview by CBS Boston of Paul O'Keefe, and it's really the first time they have spoken out since the whole trial, really, the whole case, the whole trial. And it's a very interesting perspective that he has on this case, and we'll definitely get into that. Welcome in, everybody. I'm having an okay weekend. I'm having an okay weekend. Not great, but okay. But the great thing about it is I've had some time to kind of get back into the studio, get some things going here, and put together some lives. We had an amazing live the other night with Mark Betterow and Maz Media. That video's got almost like 45,000 views on it. So I want to thank everybody for coming in on that live, and then all the new subscribers that have come into the channel because of that live. And I plan on having Mark back at some point. I know he makes the rounds on a lot of channels, which is fantastic. Everybody always loves his insight, uh, especially to the Karen Reed, case or trial. And hopefully we can get him back here at some point in the near future. We'll see how things shape up on the 22nd, if this case is going to go back to trial, and maybe have Mark back over here. And Maz Media actually be joining me in the studio next week on Thursday, 7/11. So Maz will be here live with me in studio. And I'm just trying to think. My schedule is Tuesday, I'm going to go check out the first select board meeting in Canton. Thursday, I'll have Maz meeting on. And then on the 16th, I will have Sergio from the Truth Revealed channel on here for a live. And he's going to basically take us through how he does his analysis of truth and deception and all things in between. So I'm really excited about that. But as I just want to let everybody know before we get into the presentation tonight, all donations that come in tonight, 25% of them will get kicked back to Karen Reed's defense fund. And, I try to at least get $50 over for her. So if one of my moderators in the chat can just keep track of the donations that come in, and hopefully we can hit that goal as things go on here. So I did see one chat, look at this. Nikki, thank you. 13 months, 13-month member. That's over a year. Thank you so much for your support. She says 13 months. Yo, I love watching you grow. Well, I love watching you all be here and watching the channel grow as to what it's turning into. So let's get into the presentation that I have planned for tonight. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Karen Reed trial, all these interesting developments that we're going to get into, and talk a little bit about them here. So let me just move through the presentation here. So obviously, we had the first reactions to inside the courtroom. And I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't able to watch what actually happened inside the courtroom. I haven't even had time to sit down and watch it. I watched a little bit of it today. And because I was outside at the courthouse when this trial was declared a mistrial. And when the jurors came back, they wrote this note, and we'll read through this here. So we continue to find ourselves at an impasse. The jurors wrote in their final note, our perspectives on the evidence are starkly divided. Some members of the jury firmly believe the evidence surprises the burden of proof, establishing the element of the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Conversely, others find the evidence fails to meet this standard and does not sufficiently establish the necessary element of these charges. And I know that, the big speculation is, how divided was this jury? I mean, beyond any reasonable doubt, I find it very hard that anybody could have convicted Karen Reed on any of these charges. I mean, the Commonwealth has not stated its case, made a case. I mean, you have science. Mark was talking about the other night, his favorite show, and one of my favorite all-time shows is Breaking Bad. Jesse Pinkman, science, Mr. White. The two Archer guys, for me, legitimately nailed this thing in cement. And I just have a hard time that any reasonable person would deny science. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on because I want to show a tweet that came up today. But I have a really hard time that anybody can deny physics or science. I mean, we literally live on this planet because of physics. And maybe that's just because the jury's uneducated on it, doesn't understand it. But literally, you're having two experts, the Archer guys, come in and explain, look, we did some experimentation. This is how we did it. And this was the conclusion. And the conclusion was that Karen Reed's SUV never hit John O'Keefe, and John O'Keefe never made any contact that evening with Karen Reed's SUV. I mean, it's pretty clear and evident. I think one thing, and I said this to Mark the other night, and I said it to Maz the other night, what I would have liked to see by ARCA, and maybe if this case does go back to retry, one thing I would love to see, and this is what I was very excited to see, is they are reconstructionists. I would have loved them to, I went to their YouTube channel. They have fantastic action at reconstruction. I would have wanted to see some video or some video of the experimentations that they did. I think that would have helped. And maybe we get that the second time around. If this does go back second time around, that's something that I would like to see. All right, let's go to a video here and show the in-court reaction of Judge Bev when she read the note from the jury. And we'll play through this really quick. Here we go.
Thank you. Be seated. Closing session.
22-117 Commonwealth versus Karen Reed.
All right, the jury is at an impasse. So we'll bring them in.
Please rise for the jury. Closing session, please be seated.
All right, Mr. Foreman, I am in receipt of your note. Judge Cannoni, despite our rigorous efforts, we continue to find ourselves at an impasse. Our perspectives on the evidence are starkly divided. Some members of the jury firmly believe that the evidence surpasses the burden of proof, establishing the elements of the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Conversely, others find the evidence fails to meet this standard and does not sufficiently establish the necessary elements of the charges. The deep division is not due to a lack of effort or diligence, but rather a sincere adherence to our individual principles and moral convictions. To continue to deliberate would be futile and only serve to force us to compromise these deeply held beliefs. I'm not going to do that to you folks. Your service is complete. I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
Seems almost like she's angry.
I'll be in to see you privately in a few minutes. So thank you so much for your service.
Seems like she's almost angry about it, huh? Y'all think she seems a little angry about this? She didn't get the verdict? I mean, she essentially helped Lally through this entire case. You know, that Paul O'Keefe, I just, I feel really sad for him. You sat through that entire presentation of the evidence. And you can't tell me in your heart of hearts that you don't feel that there was any type of snafus through any of this, any cover-up or corruption. I mean, wait till we go through the interview. It's amazing.
I'd like to pick a status date to find out what our next move is. So I'd like to come back sometime maybe the end of July. I understand people have vacation schedules. Can we come in the week of the 21st?
That's fine.
No, I'm just looking at my calendar. Could we,
And they really think that Karen did this.
could we do,
It's unbelievable.
22nd at 2 p.m. Your Honor?
It's unbelievable. With that evidence that was presented in front of them, it is
Is there another
unbelievable.
day that week? Could you do the 25th or 26th?
Unfortunately, I think I'm supposed to be for vacation on the 25th.
Okay, the 22nd and the 24th are not great dates. So
What about, okay. What about the 19th and 9th?
Speed up
Is
a
that
little
whole
bit.
week?
no, that week's not good. Teaching that I cannot get out of.
Oops, what did I do? Give me 2 seconds. Sorry about that.
Thank you. We'll see you then.
This is the
All rise.
quote from Paulo Keefe. We're not done with you yet.
And now we have an official ruling in the Karen Reed murder trial. It is a mistrial declared. And you see there Karen Reed hugging her father shaking Alan Jackson's hand.
Smash
Behind
that
him in the
like
red
button for me
tie
when you
is
come in.
attorney
You haven't
David
already.
Yannetti. And you can see off with their backs turned, that would be the O'Keefe family, who seemed, that's his mother right there in the blue and white striped shirt in the far background that you can see also hugging. They seemed rather emotional today. A mistrial after two notes. The first one came
There it
in
is
at
right there. That's
11:30, saying
famous,
in
"We're not
part,
done
we
with
find
you yet."
ourselves
It
divided.
almost looks like Aaron a little upset or something that Paul said something. Let's watch here.
Trial declared, and you
Aaron.
see there Karen Reed hugging her father shaking
Look
Alan
back at
Jackson's
Paul.
hand. Behind him in the red tie is attorney David Yannetti. And you can see off with their
See it
backs
from,
turned, that would
behind
be
here.
the O'Keefe family, who seemed, that's his mother right there in the blue and white striped shirt in the far background that you can see also hugging. They seemed rather emotional today. A mistrial after
Right
two
here.
notes. The first one came in at 11:30, saying in
Almost,
part, we
Aaron said something to Paul. Yeah. Stop. All right, let's take it outside to the court after what happened, the press conference from Alan Jackson, David Yannetti. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get up to the front steps because I'm not a credentialed media. They kept me back. But this is what happened out on the front steps after.
Folks, this is what it looks like when you bring false charges against an innocent person. The Commonwealth did their worst. They brought the weight of the state based on spurious charges, based on compromised investigation and investigators and compromised witnesses.
It's funny, after this press conference, Kelly Reed made her way back. Actually, I'm sorry, just previous to going back in court and having this press conference, Kelly Reed and I were talking. She said, it's the craziest thing that through the entire trial, all these hearings, it never rained, it never snowed. And then this is the day that literally the skies opened up and there was pouring rain at the end of it. It's so crazy.
This is what it looks like. And guess what? They failed. They failed miserably, and they'll continue to fail. No matter how long it takes, no matter how long they keep trying, we will not stop fighting. We have no quit.
Alan, you're going to stay on?
Go ahead.
I just have two things to say, folks. Number one, I am in awe of the strength and courage of this remarkable client that I've had the privilege of representing since day one. And number two, I want to send a message to all of her supporters out there. Your support was invaluable. We are touched
100%.
and we ask for your continued support. I'm not from Texas like my colleague here. I'm a Boston kid. But I'll repeat what he said, which is, we ain't got no quit.
It's awesome.
There you were hearing.
Good stuff. Okay, let's go up to share my screen again here. StreamYard, you gotta make these you gotta listen. StreamYard, you gotta be able to make this capability where we can queue multiple tabs. It just makes presentations so much easier, because when I have to bring up a new tab, I got to stop it, bring the screen up. The transition would just be so much better. Please, I've been asking for this for like 3 years. It just would make things a lot easier. All right, let's bring this back up. Okay, so we had to declare the mistrial. And then moving on, Trooper Proctor, almost immediately after. Trooper Proctor, State Police Association released a statement after embattled Trooper Michael Proctor reassigned. Should have been fired. But on his way, rightfully so, to being fired. Trooper Proctor, we got a statement here. And let's see, let's try to enlarge this so I can read it with my bad eyes. Following the mistrial in the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed, the Massachusetts State Police would like to offer our condolences again to the family of Boston Police Officer John O'Keefe. We cannot imagine the way in which this result has heightened the O'Keefe family's immeasurable grief, heartache, and sense of loss. John lived a life of honorable service, both to the city of Boston and children entrusted to his care after the unexpected death of his sister and brother-in-law. We remember him. Upon learning today the result of the department took immediate action to relieve Trooper Proctor of duty and formally transfer him out of Norfolk County's District Attorney's Office, State Police Detective Unit. This follows our previous decision to open an internal affairs investigation after information about serious misconduct emerges in testimony at the trial. This investigation is ongoing. Our focus remains on delivering the highest level of police services with professionalism and integrity, Colonel Ma. Well, you got a lot of work to do there on the Massachusetts State Police. Can I tell you, this ain't the only guy that's like that. It's not the only guy that's like that. I can probably almost guarantee it. So you really need to look deep, because if those conversations are going on, and the thing that's really interesting about this, not only was Trooper Proctor saying this, but his supervisors were saying this. And it went along the chain where literally someone, the top supervisor, Bukaki, could have said, hey, cut it out. Hey, knock it off. Hey, don't say these things. But they continued in with the conversation. And I think they should be the next two that fall behind this as well. They don't deserve to be there. They don't deserve to be there. All right, let's see the press conference for the Mass State Police. Let's go through that. Hard to hear this one. Very hard to hear this press conference.
Yeah, I think I've been very clear, and I want to remain very clear. Misconduct in any way, shape, or form of the Massachusetts State.
Jules the Cat, kicking it off will make it $3 US. Hope they go after Yuri and Tully next. I do too. 100%. Discipline definitely needs to be there, or they should be fired as well. They were part of it. They were part of everything. They need to be fired or reassigned and then fired. But we'll kick that off with $3 tonight, and 25% of your donation will get kicked back to Karen. I'd like to try to at least get to $50 tonight so we can make a donation.
Police will not be tolerated.
Or defense.
I think I've said that I condemn those comments in the strongest terms possible. They are not reflective of the Massachusetts State Police. That's not where we want to be as an organization. And I believe that we will certainly continue to monitor that, and as we are moving through the process of our internal affairs investigation. Again, due process, we are evaluating that, looking at it. We're going to continue to investigate it. We have, as you know, initiated a internal affairs investigation early on in this process. Part of that is to monitor the case that was ongoing. We wanted to make sure we had all the information available to us through the trial process. I also want to point out that trial process currently is unresolved, and we have an open internal affairs investigation. So I'm not really in a place where I'm going to comment on that any further. I will say very generally that we monitored the criminal trial in an effort to get as much information as possible, as it may or may not reflect on members of the Massachusetts State Police and their conduct. And we wanted to make sure we had all of that before we made a decision. We also wanted to respect the trial process, and we want to be mindful of the ongoing internal affairs investigation.
So, you spoke about policies and procedures. What changes have been made or will be made to ensure that something like this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, we're going to continue to look at this, and we are hyper-focused on that right now. We have been in a process for the past 16 months of
Micro Kimmy with $2. She said we should start an education fund for Trooper Paul. I love that. I love that. That's a
evaluating
really good one.
places for improvement. We are very mindful that
Brenda,
there are
$5.
always improvements
Thank
to
you.
be made on the Massachusetts State Police. We have drilled down
I love it.
and concentrated our efforts on 6 general areas, all that are reflective of what we do on a daily basis and how we are perceived in the public eye. We want to continue to make sure that we can provide the services to the public that they demand. And
The thing is, they knew all this shit was going to come out during trial. They had an opportunity to fire this guy before trial, but they couldn't do that because they needed him. They needed to use him to sit in this trial, because just if there's the possibility that Karen Reed gets convicted, I fucking guarantee you that if Karen Reed was convicted, all this misconduct and all the language that he used would have literally been washed away. They would have sat him on a desk job for 30 days and then fully reinstated him back to his full-time job. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you. If Karen Reed was convicted, Trooper Proctor would have been assigned to some shitty desk job for about a month, and then this guy would have been full active duty, and all of this would have gone away. But because she didn't get convicted, this is where they had to all stand up and say, oh, we're going to transfer him, reassign him, because it didn't go their way. It didn't go their way. But I'm telling you, Tully and Yuri need to be next. Deserve.
Those areas where we're concentrating most of our efforts now are, I could break them down and say that in no particular order: community trust, legitimacy, and engagement, diversity.
Dots in the chat. By the way, wonderful videos that you just dropped today. I checked them all out. I love the Jen McCabe one. Was really good. Very, very good.
As a standalone issue for the Mass State Police, examining that both externally and internally, training, leadership and wellness, and media and public relations.
Leadership.
Those are the areas that we're focusing on, have been focusing on for the past 16 months.
Leadership. I like that.
Well, I think we're gonna see additional scrutiny on all of these investigations as a result of what has come about in regards to the most recent trial, and we're prepared for that.
State police lacks public confidence, and what do you see as your ability to affect that? And related to that, what has the governor told you her expectations are for the agency?
It's so good.
Yeah, I think it's incumbent upon us to be in a continuous cycle of earning, maintaining public trust and legitimacy. That's we cannot do our job effectively without that. And we are hyper focused on being able to do that and conducting ourselves in a way that demonstrates that we can do that and that we are worthy of trust. And as we move forward in this organization, we will be mindful of that, and we will be making sure that we're all doing our very best to show the public that we can be what they need us to be.
Have you been in touch with the feds?
I mean, do you ultimately trust the Mass State Police right now? I mean, this look is terrible for them. It's awful. I mean, that whole organization needs a whole overhaul. But I mean, I go back to, and I just talked about this. I guarantee you, if Karen Reed was convicted, Proctor would have been on a desk job in 30 days, fully reinstated. I guarantee you that. Microdots with the 10. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that. He says he loves the show. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. All right, let's keep going. Microdot,
I'm not
gotta get you up on this panel, brother. Let's make it happen. We talked about it. a little bit when we're out at trial. Let's make it happen. Right.
In a position really to
Go
say
back.
anything about anybody else's investigation. I will tell you that we are still actively involved because there is a trial process ongoing, and we are certainly actively involved in the internal affairs process.
How can you the public's trust when you're just seeing like these scandal after scandal?
Yeah, well, we have to take this head on. We have to be accountable to ourselves, to each other, to the residents and visitors to the Commonwealth. We have to look in the mirror. We have to be hyper focused on making sure that we are professional
You
and
gotta
that
tell
we
me
are.
You didn't know this shit was going on in your department? And you talk about leadership, that you're not doing checks on your officers and checking in with them? And you're sitting here talking about leadership? Come on, man. Come on, bro.
In a continuous cycle of evaluation and improvement and refinement, and we need to work very hard to engage the public in a more meaningful way, so that we can understand what it is that we need to do and where we want to go in order to maintain trust, build trust, and in some cases regain it. And I believe that those 6 fundamental areas that we're pushing forward are going to help us do that. I'm confident of it. Yeah, I know we were involved in that in a variety of ways. That is a Worcester Police Department investigation. It would probably be better to ask that question of them. We were in a support role. It's a role we find ourselves in frequently, resource provider and force multiplier for the Worcester Police Department.
That's not your job. You said you wanted to wait until the trial concluded before making these remarks before taking action. But now we're in a situation where we're between trials.
Right.
Do you anticipate taking action, making reforms before the next trial? And will the action that you take against Michael Proctor, if any, are you concerned that that could have an impact on the outcome of the trial?
Well, I think in regards to the action we took, yesterday, the important piece for us was to continuously monitor the trial, to take the information provided during the pendency of that trial in-house in order to make the decisions that we made. We made the decisions we made yesterday.
They waited. I'm telling you, they waited. If she was convicted, 30 days, suspension, desk job, whatever you want to call it, he would have been right back on active duty. But because they lost, they're now going to move this guy on reassignment and eventually probably be fired.
Based on things that we learned during the trial process and in other ways, I can't speak to the impact that it may have moving forward. I know that for us as an organization, we wanted to make sure we took appropriate and decisive action when we had as much information that would allow us to do that, and we did.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
See you
everyone.
later, buddy. Have a good one. Okay, well, listen, all that action going down. What did they have to do? They had to go to Trooper Proctor's house and get a talk about what happened. Well, let's see the lovely, friendly Trooper Proctor.
In place tonight at 6, but let's begin with NBC 10 investigator Kathy Curran. Kathy, you just spoke exclusively with one of the central figures in this case, State Police Trooper Michael Proctor. We all know his name, and it sounds like he wasn't thrilled to see you.
Well, Glenn, there's a lot of pressure on the lead investigator, Trooper Michael Proctor. We heard the disturbing texts about Karen Reed that he sent to friends, family members, and coworkers. There's an internal investigation by state police, and we know there's an ongoing federal investigation into how this case was handled. Proctor was at his home in Canton this afternoon when the Karen Reed case ended in a mistrial. We caught up with him just a few moments ago to ask him his thoughts on the outcome of the case.
Trooper Proctor, Kathy Curran from NBC 10. We'd like to ask you some questions. Do you think your actions impacted the outcome of the trial?
Get off your lawn.
I'm not on your lawn. I'm on the street.
I'll tell you, I love the fact that the reporter goes, I'm not on your lawn. I'm on the street. I love that. I love it. I gotta go back. I just love how she just goes, I'm not on your lawn, I'm on the street. Love it.
Trial?
Get off of our lawn. Right?
I'm not on your lawn. I'm on the street. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I fully support my husband. Karen Reed is a murderer.
You support your husband?
She
And you
seems like
heard
a
it
lovely
there.
cup
His
of
wife
coffee,
fully
huh?
supports him and called Karen Reed a murderer. Testimony in the case showed Proctor was familiar with witnesses in this case. We reached out to state police about Proctor's current status with the department.
later,
They told
buddy.
us he's still
Have a
employed
nice life.
and had no further comment at this time. Kathy Curran, NBC 10 Investigators.
Yeah. See you, buddy. Have a nice life. Scumbag. All right. Let's move along here. Let me go back up to my presentation. I'm telling you, come on, StreamYard, get it together. You need to be able to cue these tabs. It just slows everything down. Transitions are so slow. All right. So moving along, Michael Morrissey's statement right after the Karen Reed mistrial says prosecutors intend to retry the case. We're going to retry it. In a brief statement Monday, the Office of the Norfolk County's District Attorney Michael Morrissey said it plans to retry the case, which alleged Reed and O'Keefe had gotten into an argument the night of January 28, 2022, before she struck him with her SUV and fled the scene. Complete waste of time, complete waste of resources. You're never going to find a jury that's ever going to convict Karen Reed of anything. It's just not going to happen. It's never going to happen. There's no evidence that supports that Karen hit John or John made contact with Karen's SUV. I will tell you this, though. There was a lot of evidence that supports that something happened inside 34 Fairview that night with the McAlbert clan, the cult. Kind of call them a cult. It's like a cult. But a lot of evidence supports that. Brian Higgins, Brian Alberts, why did you destroy your phone? Why did you each destroy your phones? That would be one of my biggest questions there. Jennifer McCabe, 2:27 a.m. Google search, Hoslong the dying cold. And then obviously at the end, we had the two experts from ARCA that essentially applied physics to this accident scene and just said, there's no way possible. So let me just get back up here. I just saw a $20 super chat come in. And Double M9 says, not their scandal, won't be their last. Look back to hazing issues at the academy. Oh, I remember that. Genduso and Ristine incident and so many more. Proctor might lose his job, but no one else will. That's the status quo of the Massachusetts State Police. Yes, the Life 360. There's so many things that we've gone through. So many things we've gone through. All right, moving along. Yes. I love this one. This is a good one. The hug heard around the world. The hug heard around the world. And we have the New York Post, Karen Reed and lawyer spotted cuddling up as the jury deliberates whether she murdered her cop boyfriend. And this is probably some of the worst digital fakes that I have ever seen. And we're going to hear from Lars Daniel, a digital forensic expert on Banfield that essentially debunks this. And if Microdots is still in the chat, man, you got to break this down and show us how fake this obviously is. I think that would be a great video for you. You probably would get a shit ton of clicks and views on it. But here we go. New York Post, Karen Reed spotted canoodling with her lawyer as jury deliberates over whether she murdered her cop boyfriend. So the funny thing about this, Alan Jackson's wife was in town during supposedly when this happened. And I'll tell you this. Do you think that Alan Jackson and Karen Reed, let's just say hypothetically, and I'm just saying hypothetically here, I'm not saying that any of this activity happened, but let's just say something was going on between Alan Jackson and Karen Reed. Do you really think they would be that fucking stupid to go out in public and display any type of public display of affection? Do you think that they would be that fucking stupid to do that? That is one of the most ridiculous things that anybody would bring up and do because it would not happen. It would not happen. They're literally staying at a hotel and would have, we were talking about this the other night with Mark Bedrow. If there was anything that was going on, one, wouldn't be unethical, which I don't care about. I'm just saying. And two, they probably would do it in the privacy of where they're staying. So there's no way they would go out into public and do anything like this. And you can clearly see, and you're going to see this digital forensic expert talk about this, where supposedly the person that's Alan Jackson, how his face is always fuzzy, but everything else is so clear in the background. And to me, I mean, the superimposed face of Karen Reed on this body is clearly AI. It's clearly AI. All right, so let's hear from Lars Daniel over on Banfield the other night. I love how he picks apart this video. And then I have a special treat that I want to show you, a tweet that went out today, and then we're going to get into the Paul O'Keefe interview. All right, let me pull this up here from Banfield, and let's play through this here.
I am joined now by Lars Daniel. He is a
Let me just do this real quick. $5. Rotor Fib, thank you so much. $5 super chat says, almost forgot to hit the like button. Don't be like me. Hit that like button. I appreciate that. Yeah, smash the like button. Let's get some more people in the room. Here we go.
digital forensics expert who has given expert testimony in both state and federal court. He has taught thousands of attorneys how to understand and present digital evidence. And he literally wrote the book. It is called Digital Forensics for Legal Professionals. If there's anybody who can spot a fake on a photo or a video, it is Lars. So Lars, we had to call you right away and ask you about these cockamamie photos that went all over the internet. I just want to make sure our control room has the right ones, because we were showing the house where the police officer died, Karen Reed's boyfriend. But the photos that went around the internet showed that right there. It showed Alan Jackson kind of snuggling around Karen Reed. And a lot of people believe this stuff. They hit the live button and it brings the photo to life for a second and a half. And you do not believe that this is real. And why is that?
No, I certainly do not believe this is real. I think there's only one photo actually that's a part of this that may be real, and that's the lunch photo. The other photos have some real issues. I'd be happy to show those to you actually, and we can see those together. So I'm going to share screen right now and show you some of that information. So if you're looking at my screen, one thing I want to show you right here, Ashley, first is that when we're looking at this photo on this side, if you look around, we can read the parking sign here. We have high resolution in the background. We got high resolution bushes, but we've got a very high resolution, a very low resolution face. And there's certainly enough reference photos out there to replace the face from all this footage that's out there on this case for Karen. And honestly, when I'm looking at this, my first impression, we look over here, we see the gentleman wearing a Fitbit over here, it looks like, or a Whoop band. And that on his wrist, we see in this photo right here as well. And this hairline and this hair shape certainly resembles Mr. Jackson more, in my impression, than this interesting looking haircut. And one thing to note, when you're talking about forensics, in particular, tool marks related to applications like Photoshop or CapCut and the rest, like we're going to talk about in a moment, this hard line right here is pretty evident of a potential tool mark, an actual tool mark of using a tool within Photoshop. But one interesting thing.
Okay, and I'm just noticing, one sec, before you go on, but like right below your red circle there on Karen Reed's face, she's got what looks like a 1980s tube top, the black tube top. But if you go out to the lunch photo, the top on Karen Reed is higher up towards her neck. Yeah. It's actually not a tube top. Did you notice that? I just noticed it for the first time. I don't know why I didn't notice it earlier today.
Yeah, I did notice that. And honestly,
again, this goes back to just logic. Okay. Logic in all of this. Do you really think that Alan Jackson and Karen Reed, with the thousands of cameras that are on them, I mean, people are literally probably following them around, news reporters, photographers, videographers, anybody that can get any paparazzi that can get any dirt on them. Do you really think, let's use basic logic here, people, that Alan Jackson and Karen Reed would display any type of anything like this in public? I mean, it's simple logic. It's simple logic. It would not happen.
See, I did show some interest in that shirt, but there's more
Thanks for the
items that are more
membership.
interesting to me, like this. So we have this incredibly skinny leg. We have some other items like that. And when we look at the video in a moment, this arm right here, his arm morphs in shape. It grows larger and smaller, and there's a lot of anomalies. And it has been edited. I know it's been edited. There's no doubt about it. I actually don't even need to see the video to tell you it's been edited.
Yeah,
we can listen to just the audio and see the tool marks in that. That's right here, actually. This is called...
Yeah, you can recognize tool marks in audio, because in the audio, I don't think the audience heard the audio, but it kind of sounds like the din of a restaurant. Like the person who took that video might be inside the restaurant looking out the window at the action. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. But honestly, I don't even know if that's actual audio. I think it may be dubbed in, because you can do that in CapCut, which is the tool that was used here. So let me show you this real quick so we can see. You don't even need the video to prove that it's been edited. What we see here is called a spectrogram.
Like this. Java Time says, I'm a photographer, and this picture actually literally made me laugh out loud. Looks like a kindergarten child did it. It's horrible. Yeah, I have to agree too. I mean, I looked right at it right away when I saw that. I'm like, that's a fake.
A spectrogram is a visual representation of auditory data. So it allows you to see audio data. And you see these hard lines, these big cuts in between the audio. Those are tool marks. That is a cut of an audio file where you have somebody who's used an editing tool to slice out a section. And if we listen to it, which I'll play in just a moment, you'll actually hear a bing, a system sound, either from a computer or a phone, probably a computer, where it's on the editing while he's making it. So I'm going to play that now if you'd like to.
Yeah.
That nice bing is a system sound. Now, that background noise, CapCut, this tool that we're utilizing here, the same one used to edit this video file, has built-in sounds. I found many sounds that sounded very similar to this. And if we transition to the video, we can see there's some more evidence of that as well. So I've actually taken this video and I've spliced in those still images so we can compare that, because that's another element here as well. So we have the original video, and I'm going to pull it across so you can kind of see it. We see that arm. See the arm shaping differently? I'm going to zoom in.
This is really good.
So if you watch that arm, it changes size. Like morphing.
Grant's Pants, $2. Says the moon landing was more believable. Thank you for the $2.
Inside. Bigger and smaller throughout. So that's one issue here. But the other issue is that you cannot have a low resolution video that produces high resolution clips. So there's alleged still shots from this video, not possible. But there's also a real rookie mistake here, and that's the following. If you watch this video all the way through, what comes up? That CapCut sound right there, that's appended to a video when you edit it in the CapCut software, and it adds it to the end if you don't delete it. So that's in there on every CapCut file unless you go and selectively delete it after you produce it. So that's just a total rookie mistake.
So, okay, you're amazing, but the rest of us are not. Is there something that we can do out here in the mere mortal universe to be able to recognize? Because I did not see the CapCut end graphic in the versions of this photo that I saw. And I saw a bunch of different versions, right? People texted it to me. Yeah. I saw it online. I saw it in a bunch of files, but I never saw that CapCut. Did you have to have specialized equipment to see that?
No, I pulled this down from the actual, the Twitter post, or excuse me, X post. I pulled it down and was able to, it was right there. So I extracted this from that actual post. But one thing that's even more interesting here, you see how low resolution this is? You can't take a low resolution video and pull a high resolution clip. So that gentleman was claiming that these clips that I've spliced in, I found the exact spots where they would splice in, came from this video. So you see how that transitions so hard? You have that blur to this.
Oh, yeah.
This video has been edited to death. So this actual movement in here, where you see it doing that, that's a CapCut transition. See these right here? These are all CapCut transitions. I could drag one into this video right here, and we can watch one.
This is so awesome.
See it transition like that? That's all built in with this tool. This has been edited significantly.
So good.
In my expert opinion, I know this has been edited because we have editing software marks. But even these images right here, where we have those, I don't think you can trust these at all.
This is so good.
Because once again, there are plenty of reference images out there where you could pull her face smiling from the courtroom or other areas. And replacing these faces on here would be very simple to
even
do if
right
you know what
there.
you're doing.
I mean, even right there, just look at like the person that's supposed to be Alan Jackson. It doesn't even fucking look like him. It doesn't even look like him. It doesn't even look like him. And I almost noticed that on that person that they're trying to make out to be Alan Jackson, it looks like he even has a little like a soul patch right here. That doesn't even look like Alan Jackson. Monica, $2 says Vinny and others should bring honest people on. I agree. And that's why Maz and I did not go on Court TV. That's why we didn't do it. I'm not going to go on there with dishonest people. And Court TV was very dishonest, the way that their programming was. Producer reached out to me, asked me a couple of series of questions, asked my name, my email address, my phone number, asked, was I out there wearing pink, supporting Karen Reed, and what was my position in all of the Free Karen Reed movement. I told her I was a content creator. I have the LTL Media YouTube channel. I live local. And she said, oh, okay. All right, great. I'm going to send out an email that has some instructions to get on via Skype. And if we can't do that, then we'll do it a different way through, what'd she say? Through a wire or a link. Then I received 2 emails. One was a list of all the people that were supposed to be on the show with the call sheet. And 2 was the one with the Skype instructions. And then I looked and I'm like, oh, my last name is in this email and it's going to a bunch of people that I don't know, that I don't want to. And this producer never told me they were sending out a mass email to confirm everybody who was going to be on the show. That wasn't explained to me. So I called Maz right away. I said, hey, did you just see what happened? Your full name and last name is out there to all these people that are going to be on the show. And he was pissed. He said, I ain't doing it. I said, well, I'll stand with you. I'm not doing it either. And this producer repeatedly called me at least 5 or 6 times, emailed me at least 3 or 4 times, and I ignored it. And then the next day I wrote the producer and said, look, the reason that I didn't come on was XYZ. And that's it. Never heard from the producer again. So they need to do a little bit better in their vetting, a little bit better in their process of inviting guests on their show. And, I'm upset. I'm a little disappointed in the whole thing. I think that they would have known better being a producer on a show to put out personal information out there. But anyway, I digress on that. All right, let's keep playing through here.
And there's generative AI tools that would allow to do it. I could do it by hand and it would look absolutely real. But this is kind of amateur looking work because you see how low resolution it is. What you do if you want to...
I'm not going to sell out, just to get people over to my channel. Not going to do that. Bullshit. Okay, Jamie, thank you for the 20. Didn't the officer that called in the psych hold for Karen say that on the stand that he did so because Jen and Carrie told him to? Is that why she said she wouldn't see them again? Karen Reed knew what they were capable of. Probably, most likely. Yeah. All right, let's go.
If you take a high resolution something, you edit it up, and then you make it low resolution so you can't see the tool marks. You can't see the details. That is what we have here.
Interesting. Lars Daniel, I'm so glad you do what you do and that you would take the time to be with me on a Friday night to tell everybody watching they've been duped. Thank you so much for this. I'm going to call you back many times.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Good stuff. Easy way to explain it. Love what he did. And all good stuff there. Let's see. Oh, okay. Let's talk about the tweet that I was going to bring up. Look at this, everybody. Oh, Jennifer Coffindaffer. You always got something that you got to say and do. And I love this. she brings up literally something that has been debunked and tries to spin more propaganda on this. Will Alan Jackson's extracurricular activities with his client, Karen Reed, affect his decision to represent Reed in her second trial? You've got to be kidding me, Jennifer. You are a former FBI agent that has been trained most likely in all of these areas of photo fraud and digital digital video fraud, and you're literally going to roll with this story now that this is real. Did his original fee cover the second trial? Will AJ's wife, who is no dummy, have any say on this decision? Why are you talking about his family? That has nothing to do with what is going on in this case. Shame on you. And I hate saying that. Shame on you. It's just a stupid thing to say. Shame on you. But it's stupid. His family has nothing to do with his client. Why would you even bring that up? Actually, that's pretty fucking trashy that you would even do that, to bring his wife into this, into his work, his job. That's fucking trashy. Oh my God, Aggie says, Trooper Paul, we need to start school at Stuff 101. Proctor needs to be demoted to dog catcher and find Chloe. I love that. Thank you so much for the $5. We're going to add that towards the total tonight, and hopefully we can get Karen Reed that $50 to her defense fund. So then going on, it says, I certainly would not want my husband across the county drinking, partying, and holding another woman. It would no matter what he was being paid. What wife would? Are you fucking serious right now? That's pretty fucking trashy that you would keep spinning a lie like this. That's like defamation. Certainly that he is capable of handling this case on his own. Perhaps AJ Style turned off some of the jurors who will be representing Reed this go-around. It will be interesting to see. We shall see. Without seeing the retainer agreement, it's hard to know. The first pretrial conference is on July 22nd, and I will be there on July 22nd for that pretrial conference. So I was curious. And that doesn't even fucking look like AJ. Look at the fucking, the soul patch right there. This dude has literally a soul patch. And yeah, look at the fucking arm right here. You can totally tell it's been digitally manipulated. Are you fucking kidding me, Jennifer Coffindaffer? You can't look at that fucking arm and say that that's a real fucking arm and hasn't been digitally manipulated. You've got to be kidding me. I've seen better Photoshops inside fucking MS Paint. You're going to literally tell me right here and say right now that that fucking photo is real? And the fucking hand has 6 fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does it have 6 fingers? No, it's got 5, but it's pretty fucking bad. It looks like it's got 6 fingers. Look at the size of this middle finger. Look at the size of that middle finger. You're literally fucking think that this is real. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. Okay. Here we go. Here's my fucking tweet to her. And she still won't answer this question. She still won't answer me. I said, when stooping to an all-time low, can't get any lower. You really think Jackson and Reed would be this careless or stupid? It's obviously a fake video. Why did your organization, the FBI, hire independent crash reconstructionist ARCA to investigate this case? Something smelt so fishy in all of this that they went and did that. ARCA's findings are clear. Karen Reed did not hit John O'Keefe, and O'Keefe never made contact with Reed's SUV. Denying the science after relying on it to catch criminals during your service time would be a disservice. It would be a disservice, Jennifer Coffindaffer. She still won't. I tweeted this to her a couple of weeks ago. She will not answer this question. She won't do it. She won't do it. She won't answer the question. She will not answer the question. Okay. Let's go up. I just saw a couple of super chats come in. Let's see. David, thank you so much. On Court TV, Yellow Cottage Tale, Kevin claimed Brewster had no garbage pickup. A simple search showed that was a lie and kept bringing him on. Yeah, who cares about that guy? Audrey, thank you. Photoshop fail. These people are disgusting. $5. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And let's see, I had a couple of Cash Apps and Venmos come through. Let's take a look. Let's add these up. Catherine, thank you for the 10. She said Friday Night Entertainment. Thank you so much. We'll add that to the total. And then we had Lillian, thank you so much for the $5. I appreciate that. And we'll add that to the total. All right, let's get to the Paul O'Keefe interview. And I got a lot of notes on this. I feel like Trump repeating. A lot of notes on this. All right. Here we go. Oops. Let me pull up my notes. So we had CBS Boston, Christina Rex, in my opinion, comes off very, very, very biased in this interview. And I've heard reports that she tends to play both sides in this. Okay, let's play through.
My first question is obvious. Just how are you doing? How's your family doing?
I mean, we're doing all right, hanging in there. It's been a long, painful 2.5 years. And I mean, with the mistrial that happened the other day, obviously wasn't ideal, but if we have to do it again, we'll do it again. So we're ready to go.
Did you?
Let's go back up here. Miss Jessica says, Brian, she never answered me when I was a victim witness to the FBI investigation here in Chicago, and I was in danger. I couldn't get an answer here. She tweets about victims of DV and SA all the time, and she has like a fascination with that. Some kind of fascination with that.
You, prior to jury deliberations, ever think a mistrial was even possible?
I kept everything was on the table, I guess, but obviously hoping and confident that we were going to get the conviction that we were looking for. So as far as a mistrial, yes, it's something we didn't want, obviously, but it's just a bump in the road. And like I said, we'll do it again. We'll do it as many times as we have to.
Paul is just dead set on pinning this on Karen. Dead set. He's drank Morrissey's Kool-Aid, the Commonwealth's Kool-Aid, Lally's Kool-Aid. I have a hard time understanding that Paul and his family sat there in court. And you got to tell me that not one thing through all of the Commonwealth's presentation, that there wasn't one thing during that you questioned, like, that didn't seem too right, or that's a little weird. And then at the end, for the defense, you have the Archer guys that come up and literally use physics and science and all the things that Trooper Paul could not articulate on the stand, and essentially sink the Commonwealth's case that we painstakingly had to sit there and listen to for 8 fucking weeks. And within, a day, not even a couple of hours, sink the Commonwealth's case in about 2.5 seconds. All right, let's keep playing.
You'll be back in court every day for another long trial.
Absolutely.
How are your parents?
They're doing all right. That's more of my concern, is that they have to go through this again. I mean, I'll do it 10 more times if I have to, but I hate the fact that they have to go through this all again. We don't know where it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. But I mean, overall, they're doing.
BLT, Brian, you're doing good work. Christina Rex could have not been more Apollo Keefe's fangirl doing this interview. The amount of time she validated the theory by sighing sympathetically is softball question. A lot of softball questions in this interview. A lot of softball questions.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And they have John's kids now too, or your
Yeah.
sister's kids.
Yeah.
Well,
So
he's got like stock, you know, what they call like stock. So what do they call it? Stockholm syndrome. You know, when you've been fed a bunch of lies and then you start, you know, sympathizing with those people that are giving you the lies, that are showing the lies and telling you the lies. I just find it very hard that you sat through that trial and you can't say that nothing was questionable that the Commonwealth did. And he talks about it. Oh, you know, the investigation or, Josh Levy stepped in and did this investigation, and it's almost ridiculous. Dave, thank you so much. $10 says he said that Jen McCabe was a family friend. Yes. And yet she had to get a hold of John's mom through Kerry Roberts. That's a good observation. And I noticed that too when I was going through this. And I actually have that on my notes. Thank you. Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, I think I'm saying it right. Stockholm. Am I saying it? Stockholm syndrome. Am I saying that right? I think I'm saying it right. Might be wrong. Everybody's chatting right now. Oh my God, says $5. So sad the killers have wormed their way into the family circle and planted the seeds to blame Karen Reed. The McAlberts have no shame. It's so sad. I completely agree. Stockholm syndrome. I think I'm saying it right. I don't know. Am I saying it right? All right, let's go.
yeah, they're living in my brother's house in Canton.
Stockholm.
You know, raising my niece and nephew who are 16 and 13. You know, I wanted them to come down here and live with us, but you know, my niece didn't want to leave Canton, didn't want to leave her friends, didn't want to leave her
Stockholm.
house.
I have a hard time saying it. Stockholm. I don't know why. I just do. Stockholm syndrome.
Kind of hard to force a kid who's been through as much as they've been through to.
So here's something that I noticed in this. He does a little bit of damage control here. When they talk about the niece, he talks about the niece and nephew testifying. He does some damage control because they got a lot of shit for that. And what they're trying to do now is clean up their public image. And I'm going to tell you, they're going to probably start speaking out a lot more now. You're going to hear more from the O'Keefes. But they do a lot of damage control here.
Kind of shake up their world, you know, for, I guess, a third time.
Yeah. I mean, can you just talk about Kaylee and Patrick? I mean, they, you know, because we didn't put them on camera or anything, of course, during the trial, I had a lot of people ask me, like, what were they like? And they seemed like, for a reason, very, very strong kids.
They're great kids. They're strong kids. They're resilient kids. They have every excuse in the world not to be good kids. You know, my niece Kaylee, super strong. When asked if she wanted to testify, we told them they didn't have to, and she said absolutely she wants to. You know, she wanted.
I don't believe that at all.
Her voice heard, her story heard.
I don't believe this.
Wanted people to listen to her. She felt like because
this
she
is
was
cleaning up the negative.
14 at the time, that no one wanted to listen to her. So she was strong and insisted on doing it. And my nephew was, you know, he wanted to support her. So he said, if she does it, I'll do it. So
I'll believe it.
I'm proud of them both for doing what they did.
Yeah. Yeah. They were really strong when they got on the stand. It was amazing.
It's amazing.
Do you feel comfortable telling me, just from all that you've learned over the last 2.5 years, like what you think happened that night?
Oh, we know what happened. We know that Johnny and Karen were arguing. It was kind of towards the end of their relationship. Things weren't well. You know, they were drinking and arguing and fighting, and you know, in an intoxicated state of rage and jealousy, she just decided that she was going to do something about it. And
you really
put
believe
the car in reverse and ran him down and left him.
You know, it's like I sit here and I'm wondering inside his head, is he struggling with this, or is he dead set convinced that Karen did this? Because I almost feel like he's struggling. Am I wrong here? I think he's trying to actually convince himself Because that's why I sit here and I say, come on, Paul, you sat through all that testimony. Things didn't seem weird to you. Things didn't seem out of sorts. It's odd. And the thing is like, and I said this the other night on my show with Mark on, he has all these awful things to say about Karen in this interview, but I went back and actually went through his testimony, and he didn't really say anything bad about her. You had the opportunity under oath to say all these things. Like you said, we know what happened that night. We know what happened. Well, if you knew what happened, then why not say this under oath? Why not get up there and say it on the stand? Why not say all the awful things that you're saying about Karen in this interview under oath? He actually said that she treated the kids well. It was just about maybe some things that she would feed them from time to time, which caused arguments between her and John. Nico said, how do they know that no one said they were fighting and John O'Keefe never talked with Paul? Paul said it himself. You're right. Yeah. I mean, again, if you have all these awful things to say, you had your opportunity on the stand to let all this out, to let the world know what happened. If you know what happened, why didn't you say it on the stand? Anyway, here we go.
And we figured it out as soon as she left the house that day when she came over. We didn't talk to any investigators, state police, nobody. You know, my mother had said, do you think she has something to do with this? And I said, we're not going to think like that. Went outside to the driveway to look at her car, and her car was gone. It was a blizzard.
Karen bailed him out.
I knew what the driving conditions were like coming from the hospital.
Karen bailed him out on a DUI.
And I knew that they were going back to Dighton, which was a much further drive. So we put it together pretty quickly.
I was going to ask you that next. You took words out of my mouth. It was like, when did you realize? It was literally that morning.
Yeah, so I would say early afternoon when they came back to the house. You know, she wanted to come over and see the kids. Didn't really interact with them at all. Was there for
Susan says, I don't think he believes she did it. He's either afraid of the McAlberts or in denial from grief. Or how about this? How about all the shit that he would get from his own family, from his mother, from his father, for saying, hey, you know what? Something's weird. Doesn't add up. And I hope he comes around to his senses, but I don't think he's going to. He's drank the Kool-Aid and it's pretty much still stuck in his system. And I think it's going to be there.
For probably a total of 30 minutes, didn't say much or anything. And half of her time was upstairs gathering her things. Then my wife spoke to her on the phone on their way back to Dighton. And she told my wife that just have to remember the bad times. And I don't think I'm ever going to talk to you guys again.
Was that phone call?
That's an odd statement too. Remember the bad times. I don't know if that's a slip up from him, like a psychological slip up, but I didn't really understand that statement. We're going to have to remember the bad times. I think he meant to say, remember the good times. And I could be wrong on that, but that's a little interesting, that statement.
What made you sure of what
But why? Again, it goes back to this. If you knew this and knew those statements, why would you not say this under oath when you had the opportunity?
Happen?
Absolutely, yeah. We already, like I said, we put the pieces together on our own, and that just really solidified it. You know, why would somebody say that? Why would someone say, you know, if you didn't do anything, why would you say you're never going to talk to us again? Or why do you have to remember the bad times? Almost like justifying.
Like literally, that's what you're hung up on. Literally, that's what's convinced you of all of this, because Karen said, remember the bad times. I'm never going to talk to you again. That's literally what's convincing you of this. Okay, dude.
Right. How would you have expected her to act in that situation if she hadn't done something?
I mean, that's a softball question. That's a leading question by this reporter.
More sad, empathetic, sympathetic, but like I said, when she was at the house, she barely said a word.
Hmm.
You know, she wanted to be there for the kids. My nephew came home. My niece was already home by the time she got there, and her family arrived. And I sat down, my nephew in the other room, she sat right next to him. I explained to him that JJ's, something happened and he's no longer with us.
You're right,
She didn't say a
Daniel.
word. And right after that, she went upstairs and started gathering her belongings. And the next thing you know, they were gone.
Oh my God. But yeah, it's hard. It's just,
Oh my God. Oh my God. This is a really leading interview. This Christina Rex is literally walking John O'Keefe through this interview and twisting it the way that she wants it to be, the way to put it out. It's literally a media spin. David, thank you so much for the 10. Says Carrie testified that John's mom said that when she was told that Karen told her that Karen dropped him off at the party, why did she leave him alone there?
strange behavior.
Very strange. Yep.
When did the whole narrative
Cindy,
of
11 months, she's probably
perversion of
in
events
shock.
become known to you?
Well, if you remember her first arraignment in Stoughton District Court,
Yeah.
her attorney, David Unetti, had said this is a tragic accident. His client had no criminal intent.
Mm-hmm.
And then, fast forward to, I guess, when Alan Jackson came on board. And, they teamed up with...
This is literally how this is all spun in his head, because she said, we're probably not going to talk anymore. And then, oh, wait. David Unetti said tragic accident. I mean, at that point, David Unetti hadn't even probably looked at the case yet. It's still fresh in his mind. He's just being the active attorney on the day that Karen Reed's being arraigned. They haven't even dug into the case yet. And now it's convinced you that it's going to be a conspiracy because Alan Jackson has come on the case. Come on, Paul.
Blogger to get their story that they concocted and put together and flooded out there.
Story that's been concocted. Are you serious? Like literally, we watched experts get on the stand and debunk the Commonwealths case in like a day.
And people are only hearing one side of the story and coming to conclusions before actual evidence in the trial had actually begun. So a lot of the public was misinformed, because they were only getting one side of the story. And, we didn't come out and tell our side of the story or, what we thought or knew happened. We've kept a low profile and have been silent through this whole ordeal.
Yeah. Kayla, good point. Paul's going off vibes and not
now
facts.
it's time. Now it's time for people to understand the truth. And the jurors, we thank them. They did a great job. They put in a lot of hours, paid a lot of attention, worked hard. Unfortunately, they weren't able to come to, a consensus as far as a verdict goes. But, we have another chance at it. And, hopefully the jury that we get for the second time around will, we'll see things more clearly.
So just so I'm clear, you think this all started when Alan Jackson showed up, and Karen, throughout the course of this trial, you think she knows what she did?
She knows exactly what she did. And she's trying to buy and lie her way out of this, refusing to take accountability for her actions. Not only that, but pointing the finger and blaming innocent people.
Yeah, talk to me about that. I mean, because the thing is, the story on the defensive side is not just...
She's very, very biased in this interview. This is the O'Keefe interview. This is not playing middle down the road. And I get it. Like, listen, I'm very open about who I support here on this side. And listen, I don't want to get down on the O'Keefes. They've been through enough. I feel sad. I do. I feel sad that Paul just can't see this. What's been laid out in front of him. I feel sad. I don't want to get down on them. They lost John. It's a horrible, terrible thing that happened. But literally, you're aligning yourself with the people that did this. It's crazy. And she's very, very biased.
Oh, she didn't do it. It's she didn't do it, and all these other people did.
Yeah, I mean, she's pointing the finger at everybody. Everyone's lying except for her, according to her. I think we had 67 witnesses testify.
68.
68. I'm sorry.
That's
Testify.
all right.
Oh, she gaslights him right there. 68. Get it right, Paul. Oh, that's so disgusting. 68.
67 witnesses testify.
68.
68.
Get it right, Paul. 68. Ugh, that's so gross.
According to her. I think we had 67 witnesses testify.
68.
68. I'm sorry.
That's all
Testify.
right.
Get it right.
And according to them, they're all lying and they're not credible. And, you know, which, I mean, there's first responders that were just doing their job that day. Jen McCabe, Kerry Roberts, all they did was pick up the phone and help because she was asking for help. And according to them, the only one telling the truth is her.
Right. So
right here, right.
I don't even know what to call them. We have a variety of names. The pink people.
Well, that's a shot at the Karen Reed supporters right there. If this lady ever comes up when you're out supporting Karen Reed and wants an interview with you, don't give her shit because she just made fun of you. The pink people. The pink people. I don't want you to harass her. Nothing like that. That's not what I'm saying. But if she comes up and you're out there supporting Karen and she says, hey, can I ask you a couple questions? Deny it. Walk away. Don't give her anything because she's making fun of you. The pink people. The pink people. You got to be kidding me. You absolutely have to be kidding me. This is a total tailored interview for Paul O'Keefe. $5. Oh my God. She says, what evidence is he talking about? The planted evidence or missing evidence? They have just been brainwashed. Complete brainwashed. Okay, let's keep going.
They turned on all those people first. Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe. But then how have they treated you guys over the course of the last year and a half?
Well, if you just go back to any video of us walking into court during pretrial hearings, yelling, screaming, calling us names, I to this day, I don't know what I did wrong. I get messages all the time, whether through Facebook or other ways of communication, you know, telling me that I'm a moron, I'm stupid, need to open my eyes and all this stuff. But I ignore those. I don't really care what people say to me because this isn't about me. This is about my brother. And I like to think I know a little bit more of what's going on in the case than, you know, people that are just reading stuff on the internet. And there's been things said about me,
I think
accusations
that
about.
we had the opportunity for 8 weeks to see what happened in this case. And I think it's very clear. Cover up, frame job. I just sit here and go, you're in that court, man. You sat there every day. You know, there's nothing that seems fishy or suspicious to you. Okay.
Me, all types of things that just aren't true. But again, I just brush it off because this isn't about me.
So if these people buy into this big conspiracy, right, that Brian Albert's a murderer or whoever, okay, if they buy into that, why are they turning on you guys? Has that ever made sense to you?
Because we don't believe in a crazy conspiracy theory that holds no merit, no evidence. I mean, we know these people. I mean, Jen McCabe has been a family friend of ours. She was friends with my sister. We've known her for over 10 years. She was very helpful with, you know, picking Kaylee up to and fro when he took over raising the kids. Kerry Roberts, we've known for a very, very long time, right? And at the time, she didn't really know Jen McCabe or any of the.
No one had your phone
McCabes
number
or
to call your
Alberts.
mom.
And her testimony corroborated everything that Jen said. And the defense, I think, was scared of her and didn't even want to ask her any questions. They just wanted her off the stand. And
Yes, she
I guess
basically buried herself.
the negative or hate that's directed towards me, mostly me and my mother, is because we support these people who are being falsely accused of something they didn't do, right? And their lives have been turned upside down and partially ruined. You know, Colin Albert, who was a 17-year-old kid at the time, his life has been turned upside down and ruined. I've gotten to know the Alberts.
Haley, thank you so much. Because in my opinion, they really thought that they had the jury in the bag and that she was being convicted. Now that she wasn't, they're ready to speak out in revenge. Yeah, no, of course. This is all like sour grapes now. And how fucking bad this whole case looked. Their case is falling apart, and it completely fell apart. You have the fallout with Proctor, not, all the, my voice cracked, all the cover up and framing through the entire trial for 8 weeks. It's all we saw. And the funny thing about it, every opportunity that they had, which I called maybe like a character witness to get up and trash Karen Reed, no one did that. No one did that. If she's this bad, awful person, literally the first two witnesses that they called, Paul O'Keefe and Aaron O'Keefe, and they didn't even get up there once and trash her. That doesn't make any sense. If she's this evil, vindictive person that murdered your brother, why would you not call that on the stand? Under oath. Because she wasn't any of that. She took care of that family. She took care of those kids. You had your opportunity and you didn't do it. Because it's not true.
Through all this, and they're all good people.
You're good people.
So just
McAlbert's
because we don't believe in a crazy conspiracy theory, and we believe that Karen Reed is guilty of killing my brother.
Jesus.
They take it on us.
Doesn't it feel sometimes like your brother's forgotten in all of this?
Absolutely, all the time. It's turned into the Karen Reed show. She walks through a crowd that cheers her on. She goes out in public, takes pictures, signs autographs. She's just living her life like nothing's ever happened. And meanwhile, my brother's been gone for almost 2.5 years.
There's a second interview?
I just want people.
I didn't know there was a second interview. Tonight, are you going to show the Paul's second interview? There's another interview. Where's the interview? Can someone get me the link? I didn't even see that. I just saw this one. I'll play the other interview. One of my moderators can just get it to me. I'll play it.
But go back to who the victim is in this. It's not her.
WCVB.
My brother.
Someone get me the link.
What do you want people to know about
Email
John?
it to me.
You call him Johnny. Kids call him JJ.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my older brother. So,
Let's see it.
Generous, loyal, sometimes a pain in the ass to me. Oh, I'm sorry, pain in the butt to me.
You can say pain in the ass.
Just because he was my older brother, but he just was there if you needed him. Took care of the people that he loved. Good-hearted guy who didn't deserve any of this. He rearranged and uprooted his life. Went from a single the bachelor lifestyle living in Boston to moving into instant dad role.
Mm-hmm.
And
I got it.
That's something that
it's short.
Obviously, everyone.
It's like a 4 minute, right?
Admires him the most for, and I do too.
I think I got it.
It wasn't easy for
Mary, is that one like 4 minutes? It's like a 4-minute interview. I think I got it. I just found it. I didn't even know he did a second interview. They're going to speak out a lot now. Let's see. Reporter is amateur at best. Oh my God, says, I hope the McAlberts forever feel uncomfortable, as they should. As they should. Let's see. I think I think I have it, Mary. It's like a 4-minute video. All right, let's keep playing.
At the beginning, but he learned to figure it out, and we all helped as much as we could without getting in the way. Just an overall good guy.
And I assume he chose to do that, right? I mean, your sister's situation is unimaginable.
Yeah. So then, after my brother-in-law passed away, we had to figure out, all right, what do we do? And at the time, my wife and I were like, all right, we'll take them in. At the time, we had a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old. So we were trying to figure out how are we gonna do this. Our house was small. We didn't really want to live in the house that they both passed away in, but we were trying to figure it out the best way possible. And then Johnny just stepped up one day and just said, I got it.
Wow.
And then pretty much moved in the next day and took it from there for 8 years.
So there's a reason that's why so many people describe that that's what they admired about him.
Yeah. I
He
mean,
stepped up.
a selfless act, changing your life, you know, to take care of his family and people he loved.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, that's him in a nutshell.
I know I asked you how your mom's doing already or how your parents are doing, but I just can't imagine for her losing 2 kids.
Yeah.
Is she like a different person now?
She's a strong woman. I'll give her that. Yeah, it's unimaginable, you know, just to lose them in the ways that she did. You know, my sister suffering for 5.5 months with brain cancer.
Yeah.
But at least had the opportunity to say goodbye. And then, you know, with my brother just being taken from us so
I mean,
quickly.
look, granted, you know, Paul's been through a lot of trauma. You know, I've lost a brother. I know what it feels like. You know, I feel for the guy. I feel for the guy in the sense I just wish he could see the obvious lie that the Commonwealth is trying to spill upon this guy. And then the lies that the McAlberts has just placed all over this guy. You know, I can feel for him in a sense. You know, it's not fun losing a family member, never mind 2, his sister and his brother. But you just, I don't understand why you can't see it.
Senselessly.
Pretty obvious.
I know somehow she keeps it all together. My father, quiet, kind of keeps to himself.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, overall, what they've gone through it's unfair.
Yeah.
It's unimaginable.
Excuse me.
They're strong and they keep moving forward, and just same thing. They do what they have to do to take care of the family.
I have to ask you, we got ushered out of the courtroom pretty quickly on Monday. You had a little exchange with Karen. Do you mind? What happened there?
So throughout the trial, she likes to look at me and smirk.
Okay, I think that's a little ridiculous. I mean, I think she's turning to her attorney, David Yannetti, at that point. Oh my God, says John O'Keefe was a wonderful person, deserves more for his brother. This is sad and frustrating. May God keep him in the eternal light. Justice for John O'Keefe. Dave, $2 says the worst thing is he defended Proctor Trooper. Yeah, he did. He absolutely does. He defends him in this fucking interview. It's crazy.
She's never once made eye contact with my wife, Erin.
Thanks for the 2.
So when the mistrial was announced, she turned and looked right at Erin and gave her a smirk, and then went over and hugging and celebrating to some extent. And I just said,
well, I mean, it's a given. So to celebrate a little bit, you're in a sham trial that's been placed before you by the Commonwealth, and you've had to sit through 2.5 years of a nightmare, and you have the opportunity now to go home. So yeah, that's a victory. It's a sham trial, Paul. So yeah, you have every right to probably celebrate a little bit, and you've kind of like, I got them back for what they did to me.
You're not done yet.
Did she say something back?
No, but I mean, it was an emotional day, emotional moment, being in that courtroom, sitting so closely, and that's something that she wanted.
Yeah, can you talk about that? I mean, the courtroom switch, we know all the legal reasons why it happened, but you guys were like arm's length from her for the entire trial.
Yep. I guess after a while, you just got used to it, but yeah, showing up every day, sitting that close to the person that took my brother away from us, it was not easy. It took a lot to not say anything, but again, it wasn't about me. We were there for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to get justice for Johnny.
What did Adam and Laura say to you guys afterwards? Like, what, looking ahead?
Yeah, I mean, they were disappointed in the outcome, but Adam said, he goes, we're just going to do it again. He goes, I'll start tomorrow. So they're confident. They have the truth on their side. Unfortunately, if you pay high-powered attorneys enough and put enough lies out there, you start influencing people.
I mean, come on, Paul. The ARCA guys, dude. You're just gonna dismiss science, you're dismissing science. Literally, you're dismissing science. Water is wet, Paul. Fire is hot. That's science. Another thing that science is, Karen Reed's SUV did not hit your brother, and your brother didn't make any contact with Karen's SUV that night. That's just basic. It's science.
To the point where there's just no turning back.
Mm-hmm.
I think people just don't want to admit that they were wrong or duped. But they're confident, and we're going to go at it again.
All right, let me pause this really quick, and let's just hear about the science. Let's hear about the science. This is science, Paul.
You also did some testing concerning a drop test. Is that right?
Correct.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, again, this is what I talked about. He never stated any of this while testifying. I said that a while back. He just hasn't said anything. He had his opportunity under oath to say all of these things, all these awful things about Karen, and didn't say one bad thing about her. Let's hear the science.
Certainly. So, again, through discussion with Dr. Rentschler, it was my understanding that Mr. O'Keefe had a skull fracture on the back of his head. So we wanted to do an evaluation of the interaction between the back of a head. In this case, we used talking about that instrumented dummy again, we used the instrumented hybrid head form to perform a drop test to evaluate the forces of an interaction between a tail light from the Lexus and the human head.
What height did you choose to perform this drop test?
7.5 feet.
Why did you choose that height?
Well, if you calculate it through physics and the acceleration due to gravity, that would equate to an impact speed of 15 miles per hour at that height.
And what was the significance of 15 miles per hour?
Well, that was essentially kind of a starting point for us, if you will. So I will tell you that in reverse, 15 miles an hour is fast. I don't know if you've ever looked at your speedometer when you're pulling into your driveway, reversing into a parking stall. Most people probably don't go more than 5 miles an hour or so. So 15 miles an hour in reverse is fast, especially when we're talking about, it's my understanding it was nighttime. There was winter conditions, potentially wet or icy roads. So again, that speed is going to be what I would say on the high end for going in reverse. So also in addition to with respect to kind of just the nature of that speed, it's my understanding through discussion with Dr. Rentschler that at 15 miles an hour, you start to see significant injuries to the human body when it makes contact with a vehicle. And I think one last point is that we needed to pick a speed where, again, this is kind of just us brainstorming, where we would have damage to the taillight, right? It would fracture it, but it wouldn't completely obliterate it. So we knew if we chose a speed, for instance, of 40 miles an hour, we know we're going to completely essentially explode the taillight. But if we do, 1 mile an hour, we may not do anything to it, right? So we kind of had to pick a middle ground to again, cause damage to the taillight.
What was your conclusion with following that testing? What was your conclusion with regard?
Paul O'Keefe is sitting there. He's right there. He's going to listen to the conclusion, but he's going to deny science. He's going to deny science. Here we go.
Regard to whether or not it was consistent or inconsistent with the damage to the truck, the taillight was consistent or inconsistent with making contact with John O'Keefe's head at or above 15 miles an hour.
So strictly speaking to a damage perspective, the 15 mile an hour interaction between the hybrid head form and the test tail lamp produced significantly more damage than that of the subject vehicle. So that indicates that, again, the damage on the subject taillight was less than that of the test taillight.
So if I were to ask you whether or not there would be more or less damage to the taillight if you increase the speed to 24 miles an hour What's your conclusion?
Well, you're talking about significantly more kinetic energy. So if you just think about it from, again, a kinetic energy standpoint, kinetic energy is equal to 1/2 times the mass and the velocity squared. So if you're squaring,
You think Trooper Paul could come up with something like that?
that velocity and you're going from 15 up to 24 miles per hour, you're going to get a significant amount of more energy associated with that. Probably, I could pull up my calculator, but you're probably looking at 2.5 more times energy than the 15-mile-an-hour test.
Which means 2.5 more times the damage to the taillight,
Certainly.
which you did not see in your review of the materials, correct?
Correct.
So what is your opinion or conclusion as to whether or not the damage to the taillight was caused by striking John O'Keefe's head?
From a damage standpoint, it was inconsistent.
I want to shift gears back to
Right there. Right there, Paul. You just sat through that testimony. You're going to tell me that you still believe that Karen Reed hit your brother? Okay.
Adam has been like he's kept to himself a lot, similar to you guys over the course of this.
Yep.
Do you think that's been hard?
I'm sure it's been extremely hard on him. He's
Oh my God. $5. He's right. He was sitting very close to the people who killed John O'Keefe, aka the McAlberts. Couldn't focus on the facts. Too busy focusing on Karen Reed. I agree.
not the
Thank you
type
for
that
$5.
watches social media or pays attention to any of that stuff. He just keeps his head down and does his job.
Good for him.
He's not the flashy attorney that wants to be on camera all the time and have press conferences on the stairs. Like,
He's literally giving Lally props right now.
some people. He's just a hardworking, I guess nose to the grindstone kind of guy, and just
Nose to the grindstone.
does his job. It's a very difficult job, but he's never once really complained about it. To us anyway.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard on him. I know it's hard on Laura. I know it's been hard on everyone who's been involved in this. But everyone's determined that we're just going to do it again.
Has your circle of like the people who support you guys, has it grown? Has it gotten smaller over the course of all the noise outside of this?
The noise.
So for me personally, I've kept my circle smaller.
Mm-hmm.
People that we were friends with or haven't seen in a while, you just don't know where their mind's at.
Yeah.
What they believe. So we've been forced to become very kind of like defensive, not as outgoing as we normally would be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think recently I think we're gaining some more support. I think people have been afraid, to show up to court and I guess counter protest to the people that are outside. I think people have been in fear. But I think that's starting to turn. I think people want justice. They don't want this influence of, social media and public perception based off of lies to win or to take control over this.
Do you want people to show up with?
We'll take all the support we can get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, we're not going to turn anybody away. I mean,
yeah, and look who they're going to align themselves with. Look at the moron they had on Court TV the other night. Aligning. You're going to align with that moron. Okay.
Time we go to court.
Good stuff.
We're kind of portrayed as the bad guys.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's
that's the thing, Paul. It's not bad or good here. It's right or wrong. Let's get that clear. It's right or wrong. We just want to help you see the truth. But you have so much Kool-Aid inside of you. I don't think that you're ever going to see it. I can't imagine that you literally said, we saw you shaking your head. There's got to be something in your head that you are questioning and going, man, that doesn't look good. Man, that doesn't look right. Man, some of those things that he said certainly could show that he compromised this investigation. Damn, the way that they collected that evidence outside is pretty damn bad. I just can't imagine that you wouldn't have any of those feelings or thoughts.
but somehow we're still, I guess, vilified for just not believing in a crazy conspiracy.
Yeah. On that note, was it hard for you at all? I mean, there were certainly some moments in the case where there were weak spots exposed, right? Like I think about the solo cups and Trooper Proctor, who now is facing job consequences as a result of this. What was it like for you to listen to those moments that weren't necessarily benefiting the state's case?
Well, as far as at the very early stages, I mean, a crime scene during a blizzard,
yeah,
can't be an easy.
He's making excuses now. That's your brother, Paul. You would want the best investigation possible. You wouldn't want the worst investigation or a botched investigation or a framed investigation. You would want to know the truth and the facts. Why are you not questioning any police officers going up to that door, knocking on the door and saying, do you think we can look around? There's a dead or dying police officer on your front lawn. Do you think we could have a look around?
Thing to navigate. And yet, you know, they found evidence. They found a sneaker. They found pieces of taillight. You know, obviously you're not going to see everything under a couple feet of snow.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they improvised.
Allie's
the best they
closing
could.
was full of lies too. Yuck. You are right. Thank you.
You know,
for
every
the
investigation is going to be kind of scrutinized to some degree. But, you know, they did what they had to do with what they had. And with the weather conditions being what they were, they just, like I said, had to improvise and do the best they could. As far as, Michael Proctor's comments, I mean, he even said, too, they were unprofessional, which we agree with. But, you know, this guy, his life's been ruined, you know.
On his own accord, Paul. The guy's a scumbag. He did it to himself. Don't make excuses. Don't apologize for him. Don't sit here and say, they took his personal phone. And his supervisors were involved in it too.
Getting his personal cell phone.
Big deal.
Which was something that should never have happened. Josh Levy should never have been intervened in this. An FBI investigation was launched due to cherry-picked evidence or pieces of discovery that was only provided by the defense. Like,
wrong. Letters between feds and Norfolk DA released in Karen Reed case. Who was the one that was trying to cover this up? Who was the one that didn't want this to go public? Who's the one that continued to fight this? The U.S. Attorney's Office for Massachusetts was determining in August if charges were warranted in the federal investigation connected to the Karen Reed murder case in Canton. I just don't know what happened to my screen there. Hang on. Oh, hang on 1 second. I just got to fix my screen. Oh, hang on 1 second. Dang, nabbit. There we go. Get my screen back. Sorry. I think it's going to probably crap out again. I got to get a new cord. Something's going on with my screen. Let's go back up here. Let's see. Where was I? According to the August 3rd, 2023 letter that the General Counsel for the Department of Justice sent to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office, I remember breaking the letters on this channel. I got a hold of them, and I thank my source for that. The letters denies a written request by the Norfolk DA, Michael Morrissey, to have the federal investigation moved out of Massachusetts. Why would you want to move the federal investigation out of Massachusetts if there's nothing funny going on here in this whole ordeal? The DOJ's general counsel wrote that the acting U.S. attorney for Massachusetts, Josh Levy, has a different opinion of the circumstances in this case than was presented by Mr. Morrissey's letter. It is essential to continue their investigation given the information from which they are aware. The letters do not reveal who the feds are investigating nor or why. 8 letters spanning 10 months of the back and forth between the Norfolk DA's office and the federal authorities were released to 25 investigation Monday. Reed's lawyers have cited them in their motion to sanction and disqualify the DA's office over claims of prosecutorial misconduct in their case. Morrissey requested the federal investigation to be transferred out of Massachusetts in a May 18, 2023 letter to the Department of Justice of Professional Responsibility. He knew that this fucking whole thing was crooked and he wanted it out of Massachusetts. Approximately 3 weeks ago, multiple state witnesses who have brought forth the state grand jury notified the Norfolk District Attorney's Office that they were contacted by the FBI to subsequently receive subpoenas to appear before the federal grand jury. The letters also revealed that acting U.S. Attorney Jeff Levy was the U.S. Attorney's Office in Boston told Norfolk First Assistant District Attorney Lynn Bedlin that they were conducting an investigation that may involve a number of witnesses in the Commonwealth versus Reed murder case sometime in late April or early May. I'm not going to continue to read the article, but I'm going to say, if Levy didn't know that something was going on in this case, he wouldn't have got involved. He wouldn't have got involved. And for Paul to deny this and say, well, Josh Levy cherry-picked all the evidence, he looked at the evidence. It was out there. He had an opinion and said, something doesn't look right here, and had to step in and basically tell Morrissey no. All right, let's go back to the interview here. Almost over.
This is
pretty
unheard of.
unprecedented.
To not even speak to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office, not speak to the Mass Police to see what they have for discovery.
Kelly, thank you. Behind watching from the beginning, Brian, keep at it. LTL for life, free Karen Reed. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate the $5. Melissa, $5. We never came out telling our side of the story, what we thought, oops, or what we knew happened. And I saw another $5 here. Oh, Wit, thank you. Why no lie detectors with this many people? I think that, I don't know. I think you have to, do you have to volunteer in the state of Massachusetts? I don't know. It's something to look up maybe. And I just saw some buy me a coffees come through as well. Let's take a look. Let's see. Kirsten, thank you. Kirsten, thank you so much. $5. $5 on the buy me a coffee. I appreciate that. All right, let's get through this.
Just to intervene himself in that way, and which casted, a shadow of doubt.
I don't think they're admissible in court.
So I think he has a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Not in the state of Massachusetts.
Do you get updates on that?
I do not. I do plan on trying to sit down with him at some point.
Yeah.
Whether I got a knock on the door, I sent him an email, but I'm sure I won't get a response. But if I have to go knock on the door and ask for a sit down, that's what I'll do.
Is there anything I haven't asked you about that you want to make sure people know?
In all this, I just want people to remember the actual victim. I think I mentioned it before that it's not the Karen Reed show.
Yeah.
This is about a good man whose life was taken way too soon and for selfish reasons, and has created a void in our life that was already an enormous void.
Let's see. Haley Hopes, $5, says they listed the documents that ARCA used in every one of them from the DA. That's right. And the local law enforcement and other state police. So who has cherry picked it? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Hey, don't pick on bald guys. I'm bald. I see you picking on bald guys there in the chat, but I have no problem with it. I'm confident. Pick on bald guys.
But just made it even that much bigger. And I just want people to remember him and want him to get the justice he deserves and that we deserve.
I want you to start looking at that inside that house.
Prison.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a pretty cherry-picked softball interview, in my opinion. Well, I guess everybody said there's a second interview. There's a second interview here, and I'll pull that up. But I want to do this really quick before we get to that. I guess there was a response from another reporter. I just got this sent to me from one of my friends on Instagram, and I'll bring this up. And I don't know if you all saw this, but let's see. Says, replying to Christina Rex, Diane McNamara says, read the room, girl. This is an epic fail. Such an embarrassment for WBZ and a permanent stain on your career. Huge opportunity to shine some light on the facts versus feelings. But you were too busy flirting and nodding in agreement with every slam on Karen and the pink people. Love that. Really, really good. That's a good tweet. Really good tweet. Love it. Really, really good tweet. Good reply. All right, let's do this. We'll pull up that small second interview here. I haven't seen this one at all. Here we go.
A group of people that are just, they're just never going to be convinced, and that's fine. And those are the people that are out there wearing their pink shirts and tailgating and having a good old time while there's a murder trial going on inside the courthouse.
The brother of John O'Keefe speaking out tonight about Karen Reed and her murder trial, which ended this week with a hung jury. Paul O'Keefe says his family is now done with keeping silent about the case.
Yeah, he spoke one-on-one with Newsletter 5's David Bienick, who joins us live outside the courthouse once again in Dedham. David, good evening.
Good evening, Ben. If you watched any of this 2-month-long trial, you saw a lot of Paul O'Keefe. He was directly in front of the courtroom camera, right behind Karen Reed, and the expressions on his face often hinted at what he was thinking. Now he's putting his feelings into words.
In 2013, Paul and John O'Keefe lost their sister Kristen to a brain tumor, and a few months later, Kristen's husband to a heart attack. And when John moved into their home in Canton and became the guardian of his young niece and nephew, Paul O'Keefe wasn't surprised.
People say, they would take the shirt off their back or do anything for anybody, but not many people don't get a chance to prove that. And he proved all of that.
O'Keefe says he met Karen Reed in 2020, a few months after she and his brother rekindled an old relationship. He says the family became close with Reed, but he wasn't convinced she was the one for his brother.
I mean, I don't know how to describe them, but I just didn't see it as a long-term relationship working out.
In January of 2022, when his brother was found lying in a snowbank outside a home in Canton, Paul O'Keefe says at first he didn't know what to believe, but he says when he saw his brother's injuries, he immediately thought he'd been hit by a car. And a few hours later, when Reed abruptly left, he became suspicious.
And it just kind of hit me. And I said, wow, yeah, she did do this.
Over the next 2.5 years, O'Keefe watched as Reed and her defense attorneys started talking about an alternative theory that someone else had killed his brother and police were framing her to cover it up.
It's stories, lies, innocent people's lives being ruined. I understand a aggressive defense strategy, but this is above and beyond anything ethical.
At the start of each of the 29 days of testimony, Paul O'Keefe led his family into the courtroom. He says he purposely took the same seat just a few feet away from Karen Reed and directly in front of the courtroom camera.
And nobody really wanted that first seat. I'll take the camera on me. But also I wanted Karen to know that I'm here and I'm not going anywhere and I'm going to be here every day.
Paul O'Keefe had known Karen Reed since 2020 when she rekindled an old relationship with his brother John, a Boston police officer. In 2022, Reed was charged with killing John O'Keefe by backing into him with her SUV. And during the trial, Paul O'Keefe says he watched Reed and saw things that the camera missed.
A lot of laughing, joking, smiling. Didn't look like someone who was on trial for second-degree murder of a person she supposedly loved.
O'Keefe says he never believed Reed's defense story that someone else killed his brother and that police were framing her to cover it up. He says he was disappointed to see crowds of Reed supporters outside the courthouse each day. During closing arguments, he invited some of the people the defense had tried to implicate in his brother's death to sit with his family.
It was just our way of saying, you know,
yeah, keep your enemies close, right?
We don't believe in any of this stuff.
I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
After the judge declared a mistrial, O'Keefe says Reed turned and smirked at his wife, Erin. Then, as Reed turned and hugged her father, O'Keefe passed by her and says he told her this.
I just walked by her and I said, you know, you're not done yet. That's all.
Paul O'Keefe says his family is now waiting for Karen Reed's second trial, perhaps within the next 5 to 6 months, he believes, as well as the results of a federal investigation that's been going on for more than a year.
Is that what's going to convince you, Paul, when that federal investigation comes back again and literally says this didn't happen the way that the Commonwealth is saying? I think he's very angry at Josh Levy for stepping in. He's very, very angry at that because it's going to shed a lot of light, a lot of truth onto what happened. I just want to bring this up really quick before we end this live. Where are we at for a total? Let's get the total here. Where are we at for the total? Let's wait for the total to come up. 234. I like that. 234. 234. 234. Minus 25%. About $58. We'll round it up to 60. So as this stream starts to come to conclusion. So Sandra Birchmore update. Dr. Michael Baden. He was very famous in the 90s. I used to watch a show called Autopsy. I think it still might be on. But HBO. So he was hired by the Birchmore family, and he has come to a conclusion, and I'm going to save you from playing the video because it's court TV, but he's come to the conclusion that he believes that Birchmore died by strangulation. So I think you're going to hear a lot more things about this in the news and with law enforcement. We know that the chief came out not too long ago and made a statement on behalf of the Birchmore family, and more dominoes to fall in this, and it's going to be very interesting following this. And I do plan on doing some refresher on this and getting back to talking about this case, because I think it's going to really start buzzing soon. A lot of activity around it, but it just remains to be seen, because we are seeing some dribs and drabs of it recently. Okay. All right, people, we are coming up on 2 hours here on this Friday night. It just hit 11:02. I am going to end this live for tonight. I want to thank everybody for being over here and checking out the channel again tonight. And I'm assuming that I'll be back on Sunday. We'll see what we can come up with then, if there's any new developments. And we had 234, so we'll kick back 25%, which is going to take it to about $60. I'll make that donation as I go off air here. And you know how I do it. I post the receipt up on my Facebook page, on my YouTube community page, and then you can go to Karen Reed's Defense Fund page and just ultimately get full transparency there. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate all the members, subscribers. Comment down below. Make sure to smash the like button. And I'll be back. I have Maz in the studio next week. I'm going to go down to the Canton Select Board meeting on Tuesday. And then on the 16th, I'm going to have Sergio from Truth Revealed channel over here talking about deception and body language and stuff like that. So I just said stuff like that. Oh God, I feel like I'm Trooper Paul right now. I literally just said stuff like that. Terrible, 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 terrible. But thank you all for checking in tonight on this edition of Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. I will be back soon, I promise you. And, you know, we'll just keep fighting for Karen. We'll keep fighting for Karen. And again, just keep fighting. That's all we can do. That's all we can do. All right, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. Everybody have an amazing evening. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Take the change and set the trap.